Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of News Round for Anfield Index. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of October, which means, like it or not, after what we've seen recently, the Reds are back in action. They finally are on a plane. Well, they've landed actually, haven't they? Lying there. They're in Frankfurt. It's a huge game tonight, isn't it? There is no two ways about it. We are trying to avoid, this is horrible to say, 5 defeats on a bounce. And maybe, touch wood, famous last words, this might just be the opponent for that. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from Surly Board in Edinburgh. What do you expect? It's pretty gloomy. It is October. Hopefully, wherever you are in the world, it is a little bit nicer. But we start News Round with that age-old how are we? And when we ask this question, we know the answer. I mean, we're still, I don't know if you got it out your system after Sunday. I'm still struggling a little bit. And for all the talk of we need to see a reaction, we need to see this. Well, we shouldn't really need to be saying these types of things. It's 4 defeats in a row. And for our European campaign, any chances in that, this is a massive game tonight at the same time. There's certain things that just need to happen. Fortunately, the Reds did actually get there. And you're thinking, why am I saying that? I don't know if anyone clocked the news. There was technical issues, quote unquote. I don't know if they're going with Ryanair or something like that. But they got late to Frankfurt, which meant that Arne Slot's press conference was cancelled and Dominic Szoboszlai was going to be put up at the same time. So I don't know whether they got the quotes on the plane or anything like that at all. But the only real words you can see there that I think are noteworthy. Every time you play a game in a Liverpool shirt, the aim is to win that game of football. Now we play Frankfurt away, which is a bit similar to Galatasaray, a stadium where the fans will be really loud. So apart from that quality Frankfurt have, that is something we have to take into account as well. But our players are used to playing in these circumstances. But it's a challenge as always when you play in the Champions League. Well, I hope it's not like Frankfurt, because Galatasaray, because that was terrible, wasn't it? It was an abysmal performance in keeping with what we've seen recently. So there's a lot got to be different tonight. However, this is worth just noting. It could be a good team to play. And you may argue that, oh, well, you know, any team's going to beat us, organised, etc. But if you look at Frankfurt right now, goals. That is 100% what this team brings to the party. There's no way this is going to be 0-0 tonight. If you're thinking, why am I saying that? Frankfurt are 7th in the Bundesliga right now. They are just behind Bayern Munich in goals scored. With 7 games gone, they've scored 19. So they bang them in. They've got some attacking talents. Uzun, I think it's pronounced, is one we've looked at, isn't he? The youngster. But 19 goals scored in 7 games. They banged them in. And they beat Galatasaray 5-1. If anyone clocked that at the same time as well. However, they ship them as well. Remember I said they scored 19 in 7 games? They've conceded 18. And in fact, Dino Topmuller, their coach, was asked many questions around the keeper and whether he'll stay in and different bits if he looked overawed. But imagine having scored 19 goals in 7 games, only having a +1 goal difference. In fact, if you look at the Bundesliga, it's the worst defence in it. So you can argue there may be something that Liverpool will like in there at the same time. The one thing I've got to say on this, there is going to be goals. Absolutely zero doubt about it. But maybe more importantly, the goal side, this result has got to go our way. Because you remember after this, we've got Real Madrid at Anfield as the next Champions League game. I mean, you've got PSG, Inter and Arsenal. I mean, they've got 3 from 3. They're going to be in the top 8, which only really leaves, certain places. You think some of these are going to get good results. And I'm thinking, why am I saying top 8? I know being top didn't work too well for us, but if you're top 8, remember, you don't have the 2-legged playoff. And some of the teams in there, you fancy are not going to go away. I mean, we're 17th right now. 6 points tonight, and you're not obviously far off chasing certain teams. But again, it is like Real Madrid. I actually think if we don't win tonight, the top 8 is in automatic qualification, not having the 2-legged playoff becomes extremely difficult. And with confidence being on the floor already, yeah, we shall see. All build for tonight. Now, in the travelling squad, most of the players you wanted to see, but the big update we got really, no Ryan Gravenberch. Everyone else you would expect. And as Arne Slot said, had to take him off during the weekend because he limped a little bit, as we could all see. So unfortunately, he's not ready to play tomorrow. That already means I definitely have to change one player. And with him not being there, that might mean something for others as well, because he's got such a particular quality in our squad. Ryan is not available for the Frankfurt game. Hopefully, he will be available at the weekend. So maybe, just maybe, it's only a knock, a twist, whatever it is. But if they're hopeful for the weekend, it's nothing too serious. Midfield-wise, I did say Dominic Szoboszlai was put up for this one as well, didn't I? But so I don't know, again, if they got the quotes on the plane instead of a press conference. It was quite funny to see the likes of Lewis Steele made it all the way there without checking his phone and realised it was cancelled. So that cheered me up with it as well. But this one, this is interesting. The quote that's been serialised here from Dominic Szoboszlai. Now we have to stick together. That's the most important. We had a lot of meetings. We spoke with each other. But the most important thing is that now we stay together. It's funny that he mentions we had a number of meetings. Do you know we had that as kind of an exclusive and a number of stories around this? And I don't really care if you laugh at this, but Indy Callier reported that before anyone else about the meetings. It's got a lot right this summer, that account. Only a full debates anything different. And yeah, there's Dominic Szoboszlai talking about meetings as well. So I don't really know what else there is to say, for anyone who doubts that account. But meetings, it's important they stick together. Absolutely right. I hope they sort of tore into each other a little bit or demanded more of each other as well, because in simple terms, it's just not been good enough the last few weeks. I mean, 4 defeats in a row. It's got to pick up and fast. It is right that there have been meetings. There's some honest conversations, and that's even of the top players across the board, because who's really pulling their weight at the moment? We'll see if those meetings bear any fruit, Other news, this was important because this came out yesterday, and it's almost an announcement, if you want to call it that, but something that's important to say. Details for the second half of the season have announced. Liverpool put that post out around the sales dates and a reminder that registration will start very, very shortly. And here's some key dates for you as well. If you are looking to get tickets in the second half, good luck to you. So from Thursday, the 23rd of October from 1 p.m. till Thursday, the 30th of October, that is the registration period for all with less than the 13 guaranteed. And then the sales will start from Monday, the 10th of November onwards. But if you do want to register, really important to say, 1 o'clock tomorrow that starts, and get your registration in by Thursday, the 30th of October. We've already talked about the ticketing survey, so we can go on about that till the cows come home. But yeah, good luck to all who enter that ballot. Ballot? That's a song, isn't it? Ballot, even, sorry. In terms of transfer news, there's a few links, one in and one out, like a shady nightclub. So you probably wouldn't have been surprised, I don't think, to see this one at all. Alexis McAllister. Again, from that account, the great Indy Callier, the GOAT himself, Real Madrid making moves to sign Alexis McAllister. A summer move is more likely, but January transfers not ruled out. Liverpool are looking to sign an elite defensive midfielder. And Christ, do we probably need one? We need things we need, still haven't spent nearly 500 million, as you talk about progression and other stuff as well. But in terms of this transfer, I don't think this surprises anyone. It almost is, and I'll be honest, my opinion is a little bit sad for me at the moment because Alexis McAllister last season, I said at the start of the season, I'm not going to hide away from it, the best midfielder in the Premier League. But from what we've seen, tragic, really. And when I say tragic, an absolute shadow of himself. The injury, still, carrying it, talk about surgery and all different things, but he can't start tonight. He absolutely can't start tonight. In fact, if he does start tonight, I've got a few questions around Arne Slot and what he's doing in there. But for the summer, there's always been talk about this Madrid mechanism. That's the phrase I'm using. And whether people go, oh, what do you mean? Well, remember, it wasn't a direct clause that we were told we activated at Brighton. There was a mechanism in his contract for certain clubs to get him for 35 million, and we did that. There are suggestions that Madrid, or there's something for Spanish clubs in there, isn't there? So I do put a bit of stock in that one, I've got to be honest. And what I do put stock in is the need for an elite defensive midfielder. Now, I've got to be honest with this because I've seen the links for Real Madrid and who they're looking to ship. Suggestions that Tchouaméni, they may be looking to move him on. Camavinga, not in and out the team a bit as well. Christ, either of those I think could be sensational for our midfield. Really do. So if anything around a swap deal or something there could be done, sign me that up, honestly. But you are just starting to question Alexis McAllister's longer term future at Anfield if this carries on. And by the way, I'd love him to shove these words back down my throat and play brilliantly, in the next few games. How much confidence have we got in that, though? We'll have to see what the longer term brings. In terms of longer term, though, this was probably the biggest transfer story yesterday, wasn't it? Liverpool considering a January move for Antoine Semenyo. The forward has a release clause in his deal at Bournemouth. So that was Mark Douglas, wasn't it? For iNews, who does report a lot of the Bournemouth-based news. Now, if anyone's going to know if Antoine Semenyo has got a release clause in his contract, it's Richard Hughes, who will know the details. And the pros, the ticks in the box with this one are multiple. Premier League proven, rapid, all his physical attributes. He's an absolute beast of a player, isn't he? I don't like doing this, but and it's unfair to even compare it. But if you're saying what's the closest we could get, I'm not saying he is Sadio Mane, but the closest we could get right now, you bring Semenyo into the mix. An absolute, physical beast. But just certain things on his profile as well, like the amount of shots he takes. It's around 3 per 90. 2-footed as well. Can play left wing, can play right wing. I think Sam Maguire called it out at the same time. I think it's his 17 shots. There's about literally a halfway balance between left foot and right foot as well. So there's so much to like. And pressing-wise and a defensive nature, absolutely brilliant. Now, if you think, what am I talking about with that? All you have to do is take one scan around Semenyo's profile on FB Ref. And if you look at the pros, look at that for an attacker. 99th percentile for blocks, 97th percentile for aerials won, 83 for clearances, 70 for tackles. He works hard. He's got that relationship, or he had that relationship with Milos Kerkez as well. Successful take on 75th percentile, nearly 4 a game carries. And if you think what he would bring to our team as well, pace, because we are very one-paced in attack right now. Ekitike is the quickest, but seems to be obviously in and out, despite him doing so well. Salah's, pace and a different conversation. There's no one really quick in our attack. There's no other where you think if we just knock a ball or we could just knock it past and go and change the whole thing to drop a defence or, cause confusion. He would give that. And I've got my reservations around Cody Gakpo, as I'm sure many of you have right now, despite the fact I know people are going to argue he scored at the weekend. Yeah, but what did he miss? And what's he not bringing defensively? We needed a left winger replacement for Diaz. It was a good sale. I still stand by that. but there had to be someone come in. And think a bit like me, we all thought, would Ekitike get a chance? Would Wirtz be given time out there and a variation? But Cody Gakpo does seem to be Arne Slot's man. And being straight honest, Antoine Semenyo is an upgrade on Cody Gakpo. But here's where a bit of realism kicks in. I don't know what the fee is. No one seems to know this clause. Everyone, making up numbers. But what price point, and it's not our money, of course, as Barts would say, but what price point does Antoine Semenyo become worthwhile? Because 75 million for a guy that's nearly 26. I think that's something you just put a question mark against. He's running hot as well at the moment, which is a question mark against. There's always a danger. You look for, when you look at understat, smart stat and all that, you look for, obviously, what's the average, don't you? And he is running hot at the moment. In 8 Premier League games, 6 goals and 3 assists. So there's always a danger. There is a hot link. And Liverpool's situation puts a question mark against it at the moment. The other quite big question mark is, for all the things Liverpool need right now, if Liverpool have 75 million ready to go, and we don't know it's that amount, but that seems to be the suggestion, there's other things to sort. If you buy Semenyo, is it something we can use? Yes. Could it improve the team? Yes. But it's almost like whacking a conservatory on the back of the house when there's holes in the roof. The defensive element, progression, those are the bigger things at the moment, aren't they, realistically? I'm not sure we're short of goals, but if you can get more progressive and sort the defence out, I think that would go a long way to fixing the key issues right now. Does Antoine Semenyo do that? I don't know. Again, my opinion, not that it means anything in terms of, the way the market works, but 75 million is just too rich for my blood for what you're looking at, especially what it comes down to. I think as a few have called out, for a guy whose non-penalty XG is below, when you look at FBref, 0.28, below 0.3. For a Liverpool forward, a Liverpool attacker, and what we expect, that's the 67th percentile. So I like Semenyo, I say, for all those reasons, the physical attributes, the speed, what I think he could do for our team, 2-footed, all those things I mentioned. But the fact he is running hot, the non-penalty XG, the price, I'm just not leaning into this one whatsoever. Could be wrong. There's other priorities, but January, Christ, is not a million miles away. In terms of tonight as well, at the same time, Jamie Carragher was talking about Ekitike there, saying he's been Liverpool's best signing on the bench and Wirtz on the bench. When you spend that type of money, the people who spent it want to see them on the pitch. We want to see them on the pitch tonight. I've not heard one Liverpool fan, could be wrong on this, you may be a dissenter, but surely 99.99% of Liverpool fans want to see Ekitike and Florian Wirtz in the lineup tonight. I'm going to be blunt. Here's what I want to see. Some hard calls made. Marmadashvili in nets, of course. Virgil at the back, and obviously Joe Gomez and everyone else is never going to get a game ahead of Canate no matter what happens. So it's Virgil and Ibu as the centre-backs. We criticise Robbo. He's often at the scene of the crime, but I think a left-back game for him and just taking Milos Kerkez out tonight, and, Robbo is more progressive than Kerkez, even though I think Kerkez is a better left-back. We aren't playing to any of his strengths whatsoever at the moment, aren't we? So I'd have Robbo left-back. And Conor Bradley's doing nothing for me at the moment. Frimpong looked lively, didn't he, when he came on? I would generally like to see him given a shot, almost Robbo come inverted and play on Virgil van Dijk's hit like Kerkez has recently, and Frimpong there. In the middle, Curtis Jones should be smashing down the manager's door if he's not starting tonight. Genuinely. Has to be in the team there for me with Alexis McAllister to the bench. We know Gravenberg's injured, so Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones. Jones left of it. Szoboszlai right, the double pivot. I think it has to be. And Florian Wirtz as the 10. In terms of the forward line, I'd like to see Ekitike from the left. I'd like to see Isak in the middle. And I'd like to see Chiesa on the right. Genuinely, that is what I would like to see tonight. I think then, in terms of it's the paciest lineup you could play to inject something different, it's a bit of a shout out to the likes of McAllister and Mo Salah. And by the way, I adore both of those players, but even, when Mo Salah's my favourite player for transparency, I can't make a case right now to have Mo Salah in the starting lineup. Because if I'm doing that, I'm saying, the likes of Chiesa, TK, Wirtz, all those players, if you're not dropping the likes of McAllister, should be smashing down the manager door saying, what is going on? Genuinely. I also think, that changes have to be made. A message needs to be sent a little bit to a few players. They talked about these meetings. That would be what I would do. But we will see. And certain things would not surprise me if players were still in the lineup. We'll have to see what Arne Slot does. But Liverpool need to get a good result tonight. If you look at that Champions League table, and we do want automatic qualification, I mean, obviously you lost 4 in a row, so you expect. And Dominic Szoboszlai talking about reactions, Arne Slot talking about, the things we need to do for tonight. We need to see it. We need to see something different, don't we? In terms of progression, we need to see something different in terms of the pressing, the energy there as well. We need to see something where you're not thinking, what the hell is going on in the first half, and then bringing every attacker on you can in the second half and just chaos. That we're looking to Arne Slot tonight and this week, because obviously Brentford on Saturday evening for something. We really need to see it. But it's a huge game tonight. God, I'd love to just win. Do you remember we used to win every game? We used to win every week and you had that feeling. Good times, eh? But on Wednesday, the 22nd of October, that was another news round for Anfield Index.